Good evening. I am so excited to be with you here tonight. I'm Lindsay Wilson, and I am going to talk to our host or hostess. You can let me know what you wanted to be called, Michelle, about marketing overwhelm. Because out of all the genius experts, and oh my goodness, these interviews have been amazing. I have to say that you single-handedly are the person who I think is most qualified to talk about how to get out of marketing overwhelm. So hello, hello, and I am psyched to hear the information you're going to speak about tonight.
Thanks, Lindsay. It's really fun to be here and to be on the other side.
That, right? That's so
Yeah.
cool. So sit back, relax, and I will do my best to
Okay.
do as good of a job as you do when you ask all the questions. So if you aren't familiar with Michelle, I would be surprised because you've been watching all the wonderful interviews that she's done. But let me give you a little bit of background, and then we're going to jump right into Michelle, you talking about the simplicity and the ease that there is in truly figuring out like is there a song in Pippin like where do I belong in the world? There's like a specific place that's a sweet spot for each person in their business that allows them to do what they love, get it out to the people who need them, and feel really good when they're marketing their business. So, yay, let's hurry through the bio so we can talk about that. So, Michelle has done things like getting 25 authors to number one status on Amazon. She has co-created or created $3 million businesses. You've worked with over 1,000, and I would dare say it's probably double entrepreneurs in terms of their marketing. You also, and I know this isn't in your bio, but I find this fascinating, had your first entrepreneurial venture at 6 years old.
hmm
And you've done everything from owning like a Whole Foods restaurant in Colorado before it was cool to selling mechanical. What kind of equipment did you sell,
Yeah,
Michelle?
biofeedback equipment,
Holy
medical, yeah,
goodness.
medical
That's
equipment.
amazing. That's amazing.
And I was co-creator of the equipment and the manufacturing company, so there were several businesses all wrapped up in that too.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah, fun.
amazing. And the brilliance that Michelle has gotten to, which she'll talk a bit about tonight, is that there are archetypes in your marketing. There are specific places that if you find exactly like what you're good at, what you're meant to be here for, and utilize the skills that fit that potential, you're golden. And so it's like, hallelujah, the good news is here. Yay. I am fascinated every time I hear you. So I'm going to sneak one of your ending questions in first so I don't forget to ask it if that's okay.
Okay, let's go.
So if you had $1 million, what would you do with it?
Oh, wow. You're going to make me cry right off the bat here.
Good.
Uh, well, you know, and I think a lot of people who followed me for a while know I was a foster parent, and I'm since an adoptive parent. And I have a really deep calling to help the children of the world, especially the ones that are in abuse and sad, heart wrenching situations. And so that's one place that I'd put part of the money, and the other place I'd put the money is to the parents who are so in so much overwhelmed that they need help to make great businesses and entrepreneurial ventures so
Wow.
that they have stability in the household. So the two things go together. To help the children, you have to help the parents. And when you help the parents, then oftentimes you're helping the children. It's when there's poverty or desperation or something going on at home that's where the children sometimes suffer. And so my dream is to start a whole, I guess, nonprofit or maybe a foundation to help parents and mothers in particular start entrepreneurial ventures and really help support them and mentor them so that they can bring stability to their household, to their children. And then, of course, that ripple goes out because as children become more stabilized, that goes down on through the generations. Long answer to your question.
No, I love it. It's so interesting because it reminds me, like there was one year around the holidays where I was looking at you could buy like part of a cow for a village in Africa.
Right.
And the thing that really struck me was that cow would have other cows, and then they would pass those cows to not only their tribe, but neighboring tribes. So it's like the teach a man to fish kind of thing. So it's like you're teaching a woman, not like a Kiva, somewhere far away. I assume that you're talking about people
Yeah.
here at home
Yeah,
too.
yeah, here in my own town, in my state, in the United States specifically to start with, because entrepreneurship has some basic rules, but I'm most familiar with the laws in the United States and a little bit in Europe and so forth. But, it's where I live and it's my home, and so it's what I know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I bet the answers that you've gotten for that question are really interesting in terms of looking at where people come from and what motivates them, right?
Right, right, absolutely. And I know that you have, watched some of the interviews by now because we've talked about that. And so there are some themes that run through. And I think people really want to give back. When you hit a place in your life where you can give back, you want to give back. And obviously, I give back now and I work with
Mm.
moms and entrepreneurs and mentor now people in need. Obviously, my dream, though, to answer your question, is a much bigger foundation where people are lots of people are contributing both in goods and services and money, and we're giving back in a bigger way.
It's so cool. What a cool, cool thing. And so, in light of that, then it becomes really important that you are able to not waste time and not get caught up in the overwhelm and not be like freaked out by Twitter. Like, you don't have time because you've got such a big mission. So, I think we want to break it down a little bit because, it's one thing to give a big statement like, so, find your sweet spot, or that's not how you would say it. But why don't you talk a little bit about um, when someone comes to you and they're interested in really sort of streamlining, because I know it's not just marketing and it's not just archetypes. So who's the typical client that comes to you? What are they
Oh,
like? What's going
yeah,
on?
what a great question. So, like with most entrepreneurs who have clients or customers, there's several different categories. But the thing that everybody has in common, I think, with the people that come to me is there's something inside of them and they want to go bigger, or there's a business inside of them that they haven't quite developed yet and they need help, or there's a brilliant idea and they don't know how to get it out in the world. So there's something inside that's kind of either stuck or hasn't quite got the momentum going and they need to get it out in a bigger way out into the world. Now, I work with both men and women. Typically, my audience tends to be people over 45, but that's not always true. But I tend to relate to people that are, a little older. I think my oldest client's 84.
Aw.
And so I've also worked with people retired who are starting all over again and want to do an entrepreneurial venture. But the thing that really everybody has in common is I've got this great thing. Help me take it to the masses. Help me get it out there. Help me get my word out. Help me, you know, sometimes it's live my purpose. That's a little overused now, but we all have a calling. We all have something that we really want to do, that we're called to do. And if we're not doing it in a big way, we feel like we're dying or shrinking inside.
Hmm. It's fascinating because you're really good at the technical too. I mean, I know that like really strategic stuff to do with Kindle and, like email marketing and all sorts of different
Mm-hmm.
things. So it's interesting that the people who are coming to you, I mean, like I couldn't download files today on my computer in an organized fashion to save I mean, I could, but I just didn't want to think about it. And so I think what's really wonderful about you is that you're a real hybrid of being able to look at the big picture, but then also being able to even implement the nitty gritty. And so that's fascinating.
Yeah, I think what happens with a lot of people is we get into overwhelm with the details. So we're talking
Yeah.
about how not to go into overwhelm. And sometimes it's like, well, I know I need an opt-in list. I know I need an autoresponder. I know I need to go sign up for one of the email lists, and then I have to write like 3 autoresponders, and then I have to remember to put my graphics in and email and make sure it's iPhone friendly. And I mean, already we're all in overwhelm just listening to this, right? And so what's cool is that over the years I've done this enough that I can coach somebody through a very clear, simple way to get these steps done.
Mm.
Or my team of people can do it because I have a team of people now that works with these things. But the important step, because can I back up? Lindsay,
Of
I want to back up
course.
because just because other people say you have to have an email list, and I use that as an example in an opt-in, it's not right for everybody. And if that thought isn't a match with who you are, where you're going, who your audience is, how your audience finds you, what you have to sell, don't go do an email list just because everybody tells you you should. That's following the masses. And what cuts it today in running a business and marketing is a little bit of learning from the best. You want to have good coaches and mentors and you want to learn from the best, but then you have to cut a path that is really right for you and who you're called to serve, who you're here to work with. So, not everybody cares about an email list. And so that example is, yeah, maybe we'll go open up the account, create the autoresponders, put the opt-in on your website, invite people to come from Facebook, send out a newsletter, and maybe we won't.
I love that.
Maybe for somebody listening here, they know instinctively, oh, thank goodness I don't have to do that because I have these other ideas I want to do instead. And very often, they'll reach more people or a better match for what you have to offer.
I love it. I know that in the work that you did with me, the thing that was fascinating was all of a sudden I realized that what happened, because you told me, was that people liked me and then they'd go out and sing my praises, and that's how my clients were coming in. And ever since we figured that out, you figured that out, I just sat there. I have been blown away. I've analyzed my business, and what you said was absolutely true. So it's fascinating because in the past, I would have thought, oh, like Google Analytics, which overwhelms me. I need to blah, blah, blah. And then ultimately, when I look at who buys from me, what I know from working with you is what I need to do is just connect with other people who have a voice or a platform or have people who would like me and have them talk about me. And those people never come through an opt-in. They never get an autorespond. I mean, maybe my autoresponder series should start to get, but they get personal contact and we move forward that way. So it's oh my goodness, I'm even I don't want to realize some of the things I'm realizing, so I'm going to keep asking questions. But
Well, yeah,
you
and
serve such a purpose. It changed my year sales wise, knowing that.
wow, that's great. Awesome. Well, and I want to clarify too that we may say no autoresponder this month. We're just putting it on the list. It may just be not the first thing that comes to the list. And what happens in Overwhelm is we create lists that go on and on and on and on. And the truth is we really only need to work on the 2 or 3 that are going to make the most difference for us today.
Yeah.
So if it's connecting with people, that doesn't mean you have to be an extrovert and get out there and network and go to all the lunches and stand up and introduce people or speak at every Toastmasters and Kiwanis Club meeting. It may, but if that's not you, it may just mean picking up the phone and calling somebody that you know where you think there might be a connection. So it's different. Again, there are some simple marketing rules, and it's to find the ones that are a best match for you.
I love it.
That's the key.
I love it. So let's talk a little bit about archetypes so there's no confusion, because it's this word that hangs in the air. So the people who come to you, what personality do they tend to have the most?
Great question. So I have a lot of people who may consider themselves introverted or shy or needing downtime or not salesy, right?
Yeah.
So there is this illusion out there that if you have to be salesy and you have to be extroverted, or to network with people you have to be extroverted. And the truth is we're all on this huge spectrum of introverted and extroverted. And can I give an example? Here's a great thing. If you feel a little bit more shy or introspective, shy in a positive way, I'm not talking like socially awkward, but just a little more introspective and not the sort of person that goes up and introduces yourself to everybody in a networking event. One of the ways you can still participate is offer to be at the sign-up desk. Right? Mm-hmm. So you're at the sign-up desk, you meet everybody, but you're given a specific role to play.
So smart.
You introduce yourself, everybody gets to know you, but there's almost a script that you have to follow. And so it's really comfortable to fit into that role, meet people, be a little bit more introverted, but still be in an extroverted setting so that you can do the networking you need to do. So there's one example. Now, let's say you are really extroverted and you love to go out and network, then we have to look at what's the most strategic for you, and how can you bring in the most business or build your clients or build your list, whatever your goals are, generate more cash. What's going to be the fastest way using your skills as a people person to get out there and get your goals met? But most of us are on this spectrum. So I have people who are public speakers and they're out there really on stage all day, every day, selling from the platform, but then they don't know how to, really get out and market in a quieter way and sell some other things that they have and sell some classes. And then I have coaches that I work with who are really good on the phone and really good one-on-one, but just need a bigger audience. And so, it's all over. It's all over. And marketing archetypes, I'm just going to keep going with this thread here. I think just to explain archetypes for a minute, we all understand the damsel in distress and the knight in shining armor. Those are archetypes. Those are images that come immediately to mind, and we understand the whole persona. We understand instantly what that person's about. If I say mom, it doesn't necessarily mean that that person has children, but it does mean that nurturing, caregiving kind of energy that comes with that persona. And so in marketing archetypes, I have created personas around marketing like star and caregiver. And caregiver is somebody that loves to help, loves to nurture, loves to get out there and work with other people. Professor, somebody who really likes to dig deep and then teach back what they know. And when you're using the tools within your archetype, it's much easier to feel excited about your marketing because you're not trying to do what somebody else is trying to do and make it fit in your skin.
I love it. I love it. What archetype would Oprah be?
Wow, that's interesting. And I think that most of us do go back and forth. Obviously, she has some star type qualities, but she has a lot of caregiving in her too, at the highest realm, where she has created, when she had her show, a real nurturing environment to allow people to share ideas. So I would say, obviously she has some star quality, but in terms of marketing, giving other people a safe place to feel nurtured. So I would say maybe caregiving's high on the list.
I love it. And I know one of the things that you talk about, and this is not specific to Oprah, but that there's a dark side to each of these roles. So can we just talk about the dark side of the caregiving one? Because I think a lot of people will relate to it. And it's where we get screwed up, right?
It is. So, we can call it the dark side, the shadow side, the yin and yang. There's all different ways to look at this. But when you're out of balance, you go into the small, mean, I just have the face for it. I don't have the word for it.
Yeah.
But in a caregiver, it would be like you know better. You know what this person needs. You know that they need hot tea and chicken soup and to put their feet up. And that's what they need. And by gosh, they're going to do it. And you're going to be bossy and make them do it. So when we're out of balance, rather than being nurturing, we become overbearing. When we're professor, we, as professors, and I have part professor in me, I love to dig deep, to study, to really delve into a subject really deep, and then give it back to people who are interested, teach, talk about that subject. When I'm out of balance, I just tell people how it is. This is the way it is, and I know because I read about it. By God, I saw it on Facebook. It must be true, right? And so we always have to come into balance, and we all play that.
I love it
all the
I love
time
it.
to make sure that when we're in balance, we're sharing our gifts and our essence at the most clear, high place that becomes a sharing of who we are, and that's what marketing is.
I love it. So what archetype are the majority of people who come to you? Is there a theme or a thread or a,
There are some threads, and the
yeah,
more I dive into it, the more I realize that you can also take on a different role of archetype at different times. So
yes,
I have quite a few professor archetypes. Professors often tend to be introverted, and they are good at speaking their knowledge, but if you ask them to do something outside of their subject, like now go market this, it's difficult for them often. And so I can help a professor archetype take their knowledge and learn how to market it. That's an
I love
example.
it.
I have a lot of star archetypes, people who are happy being on stage, love to share what they do, don't mind being in the limelight. They're on Facebook, they're all over social media, and when they're in their essence, their bright light shines through. And for them, it's just tweaking some things so they're not all over the place.
Yeah,
The caregiver archetypes can be in, coach. Let me give you an example a different way. Let's say I'm working with a coach. You can have one coach who's totally a caregiver, and a coach can be really caring and want to help their client. You could have another coach who's a professor who wants to teach their client, right, but using the coaching model. You could have another coach who's totally a star and loves to be up on stage, coaching from up on stage, saying what they know. You could have a coach who's a politician archetype who is connecting people and trying to make things happen and using people for good. When politicians are in the essence, it's to do good work and to help the whole, the bigger whole, do good work. And so there's one profession that somebody could fall into different archetypes with.
I love
And
it.
so I tend to have a lot of same professions come to me, like authors, coaches, speakers, people in the holistic arts industry, like massage therapists, service industry, I guess, acupuncturists, spas, salons, those kinds of people.
Yeah.
So, travel agents, I've had, a couple of travel agents this year as clients. So it's interesting. Um, Workshop leaders. So, the professions go across the board, and then the people may have a couple different archetypes, and that's what we work with.
I love it. It's fascinating because I think that not only can you help people figure out what their archetype is, but if you help people figure out what their customer's archetype is, then that can shift, like that's advanced archetypes, because then you
Yeah,
can market to them in a very specific way because maybe introverts aren't on Twitter. So maybe you
yeah.
want to, yeah. So it's like,
Here's a hint. You want the? Shall I just like give it away?
yeah,
Here's the biggest hint. So, if you are extroverted and you're marketing to an introvert or somebody who just seems more withdrawn, the extrovert will say like, "Isn't the weather great? And where did you go on vacation? And is that a new car? I love your car. And what do you like to do for hobbies?" Because the extrovert is trying to connect with you. And so the extroverts, they're doing conversation, trying to connect, trying to make you like open up so there's a connection so you can get to the sales part of the conversation. The introvert is going, why are they asking me all these questions? Why can't they just get to the point? I know we're here because of a sales conversation. They're asking me about the weather. I'm so confused. And so extroverts love chit chat, small talk, and that's how they get warmed up and get to know each other. Introverts are more like, we're here for a sales conversation, just tell me what you want. And then after we discuss that, then it's like, oh, I feel relaxed now. I know you a little better. Now I'm willing to tell you where I go on vacation.
right.
So it's really interesting that if you notice that when you're talking with an introvert or an extrovert, as a salesperson, as a business owner, you can adjust. And this isn't manipulative. I know sometimes it sounds like sales is manipulative, but it's not. It's a way of learning how to connect with all kinds of people across all walks of life in all kinds of professions. and all
Absolutely.
archetypes.
Yeah. And I think that the people that we're selling to are people very often that either we've been in their shoes, but we're not in their shoes anymore. And so we're not in the same place. So we can't remember the same language. I think there's a bridge that, it's like if I go to a trainer and I want to lose weight, we don't have the same rhythms. We don't have the same, like, there's a whole lot of difference between us. So I think all you're talking about is like how to find that perfect place where people can meet the people who need them so that you can move forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And nothing exhausts me more than trying to figure out small talk when I'm trying to find out the price of the widget I'm trying to buy. It's like my brain's going in two different places. So don't ask me about where I go on vacation if I've come to find out if my widget comes in blue and red and green, right?
Right. That's
So
funny.
it's just a different way about how we process information, and neither's right or wrong. And then, of course, we're all in different spectrums and depends on our mood and our marketing archetype. And
Yeah.
yeah, it does get advanced, but it's fun.
Fascinating. It totally is cool. So I know that the marketing archetype is sort of the cherry on the icing on the cake, on the plate, on the table, on the, like planet Earth. And so let's talk a little bit because I think, a lot of times people think there's a magic pill and here's this little thing that we're going to do. But it really, you've got to have other things in alignment beyond just figuring out your archetype. And so I know that a lot of the work that you do with people is also about um, taking away confusion, really figuring out if there's profitability. Can you talk about some of those basic steps that people need to know? Because just having a magic pill isn't real. It's not going to actually fix everything. And so you could figure out what your marketing archetype is, and still, if you don't have a profitable business model, it's not going to work.
Right. And I'm going to go back a step because the profit comes after you know what you're selling.
Mm-hmm.
And very often I find with my clients, and I got to say with myself like 10 years ago,
Yeah.
all over the place.
Yeah.
We're human beings. We have so many interests. I wrote a book about being a midlife mommy. I used to own a restaurant. I am a business coach. I used to own a manufacturing company. I love to write. Okay, so I have a lot of interests. So 10 years ago, I was trying to juggle all these balls. Well, what happens is none of them really get enough momentum to be a profitable business. So the first step is to assess where you are, what your main interest is, and which one of your interests can be a profitable business model, a sustainable business model. So the way I like to say it is I love to do art and I love to dance, but I don't have any illusions that I'm going to go be a dance instructor or open a dance studio. I'm allowed to have hobbies. I'm allowed to have interests. All of us, we're human beings and we get distracted, and some of those distractions are wonderful because they keep us alive, growing people in the world. But they don't all have to become business models.
Mm.
And as entrepreneurs, we tend to be so creative, so full of ideas, so entrepreneurs I talk to say they wake up in the middle of the night with 10 more business ideas, but that does not mean you have to implement them all. And so where I like to start is, let's assess what you've got out there. Let's assess how many business ideas are out there on the table, and then let's start looking at which ones can be profitable, which ones would be great to just go do as a hobby, which ones you might pick up in 3 or 5 years from now, and so forth. So the first step is assessing. And after we assess that, then we look at what have you done already? Do you have websites? Do you have products? Do you have services? Are these services making money? Are they not? Should you continue to do them? What kind of business cards do you have? Brochures do you have? I have some clients that have 3 or 4 business cards that they pass out depending upon what they're selling, right? We all know people like that. Maybe you've been that person. And we've got to scale it down because you will go into overwhelm. Our time right now has never been a time when we've had so much information coming in at us. TV, the web, social media, the phones ringing, our cell phone, our home phone, our work phone, our Skype, Google Hangout. They're all calling us Google Voice. We need to really streamline it. And so assessing and streamlining and choosing and finding the one or two things that you can really focus on that are going to be profitable, make money, and sustain you in a business.
Yeah.
So those are the first couple of ways that I start working with people.
I love it.
Shall I keep
Love it.
going?
You know what I want to do? I want to do two things.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that people know that you're doing an upcoming class because it's the first time that you're sharing it with everybody. It's the least expensive option that there has been to work with you on marketing archetypes. I think it's flipping genius. So I want to make sure that people know where they can find out that information. So if they go to bit.ly, and that's bit.ly/simple, like simple, SIMPLE, clarity, CLARITY. So that's bit.ly/simple clarity. They can take a look at the class that you have that's coming up.
Right.
So in the class, what I think is genius is they get access, and we're going to talk more. I can't wait to ask you about how you stay out of marketing overwhelm because I think that's like the most genius thing ever for us to hear. But in the class, you're going to take them through this process. They'll figure out what their marketing archetype is, which really was like the holy grail of my sales for the year. Like it, and the class is what? It's under $500.
Yeah,
It's like
$497. Yeah.
Come on now. To figure that out, it's like how many sales would you need to make? And to be able to take away, like 9/10 of what you do, holy smokes. It's been, okay, I know that this is not, but here we go. It has been such a relief in a year where I've got a 20-month-old and now a 6-month-old. When I go, holy crud, I didn't do this, that I just go, wait a second. So does that actually connect me to other people who then connect me to buyers? No, I don't need to worry about it. Michelle said it's okay. And if I look at the numbers, it's absolutely true. It's
Right.
like, you have no idea how many times that's saved me when it's like, I would really rather stare at my little baby's face than go get on the computer and like tweet. Like, I don't even think I really tweeted this year. And I used to teach social media. So the class is genius. And then we'll keep talking about the other parts that you do, but you really help. It's not a magic pill. You really help people figure out where they are, where they need to be going, and I just keep saying sweet spot, and I apologize, you may hate the phrase, but it's like the single most sweetest spot for them to be able to really be passionate about what they're doing and to get out in the world in the most effective way. It is so flippin' genius, it's not even funny. So it's bit.ly/simple clarity, and the class starts in November. All the details are on the page. They can figure all of those things out. But it's freaking brilliant. And you're giving away, like, the first 3 people who sign up, they get, what do they get?
Time with me.
It's so cool.
Yeah, half-hour time with me. So I'll really get in there, drill it down, and help them figure out exactly what they can do to eliminate marketing overwhelm and stay in their archetype.
It's brilliant. It's so brilliant, Michelle. So, yeah, now you can talk about the other stuff, but I wanted to make sure that people knew that because it's just, I think, so incredibly important. And I also can't wait till we get to the part about shout it from the rooftops because I love that. But back to where you were when you were talking about finding out, so what's the thing that's the hot, and I didn't know you liked to dance. I want to dance with you.
Yeah.
When we see each other next month, can we dance?
Absolutely.
I had no idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
What kind of dance do you like?
I got to tell you, the foxtrot is my favorite ever because I love that dance music. I know. But I will rock and roll with you. I'll do a little twist.
Fun.
Yeah.
I had no idea you did foxtrot. How long have you done foxtrot?
Well, I used to do it, and I haven't done it in a while, but I still foxtrot around my house,
I love that. And it's such a good example of, but it doesn't mean Michelle needs a foxtrot business. So back to what you were saying. If I have a business card for foxtrotting and the world is not really responding to that, then what's the next step? What is the next part of the process that you do, like in a VIP day with someone?
Okay. Yeah. So great. So like if I'm taking somebody through this whole process one-on-one, we'll assess where they are. What is going on now? Then we'll look at all the products and services after we've assessed this to see what's a good profit model, to see what might get tweaked, where we might have some more profits that we can pull out, or maybe something's just priced wrong, or maybe we need to package differently. And then we get to the really cool stuff, because here's where marketing really changes. I like to do some real pragmatic things, but then we got to go into, who are you? Really? Why are you doing what you're doing? What brought you into this? One of the things that I love to ask when I'm talking about marketing archetype and building businesses is, what did you do when you were in high school? Why did you get into what you're doing? There's a thread. There's always a thread that goes through everybody's life. And it's that thread that when we can tap back into that in the business, that's going to be the key for marketing, for selling, for connecting with your potential clients. So for some people, it might be caregiving or a professor or whatever it might be. But once we start really going deep to find out who you are and what makes you tick and what you have to offer, then I start looking at what's in your toolbox. What do you have to share? What do you have to give? And then who cares? Who's your client? Like, who's going to care about this stuff? And then we start going into buyer archetype, and like you were talking about earlier, how do you respond, and how do you find the people who want what you have? So that's a whole nother section that I like to work with business owners and entrepreneurs to really vibrate out into the world. I don't have another way to say it except this woo-woo language. You've got to just vibrate it out into the world.
I love it. The thing that is so special about you, I think, is that it's so grounded. Like, yeah, woo-woo for vibrate. But what you do and what you teach is so, like, reality-based, like, functional, like the real deal. I mean, like, so many entrepreneurs think, oh, I'm going to go sell gobs, and they don't have a freaking clue about who actually cares about what they have to offer. And then they don't have a plan at all that represents how they can connect with those people. So it's like, BB gun bullets that just scatter everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's the plan. But that's not really the truth. It's like, you might just want to get on the phone with your best girlfriends and say, hey, this is what I'm offering. Do you know someone who needs it? And that actually might be the way that you make money. So it's so like, you just have such a grounding, I can't even, it's like we should all come to Colorado and stand around with you, and we'd probably feel better.
Yeah, good. I hope you're going to, because I'm going to have a live event sometime in the future, and maybe we'll do it in Denver.
Mm.
So I want to go back to something you said, because when we are, well, I forgot exactly what you said.
Now you know how it feels to be on these interviews. You were talking to me on mine, and there were 2 times, I think, where I was like, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
We were talking about being grounded. A lot of it's common sense, but we can't see our own stuff. And so what I do, I mean, I can go woo-woo. I can get out there pretty good, and I can go pretty woo-woo, because owning a business and being an entrepreneur is very spiritual. It makes you grow inside and connect with what's important, and connect with your own intuition in a way that almost nothing else will. Being a mom also does that, and I'm sure there's other things, art, creativity. But wherever you are in your life, your business reflects that. They say, however you are in your life, your children reflect back to you who you are. Well, your business also reflects back. And so I can definitely go woo-woo route and talk about these things, and most of it's real common sense. But you have to combine the two, because you can do all of the common sense business building things, but if you're not working on yourself and not pushing yourself and growing, the juice, the energy is going to go out of it. It's going to fall flat. There's not going to be any magic in it. You got to have that creativity, that inner juice going too.
Yeah, well, I think also you're really committed to what you want to create in your life. And you're really on a path that reflects that. I want to ask you questions about Panama at some point. But that's different than like, okay, put together this little functional business over here that doesn't have a heart, or go find your purpose, and who cares about if anybody actually resonates with your copy, or you don't need to market yourself or whatever the woo might bring up. So what's different about you is it's, I think, a really special, significant, genius flipping combination. I know I use that word all the time, but you are a genius. It's like a real wonderful intersection of like the pragmatic and the ethereal.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for that. I think that's true, and I think most of us need that because business isn't just one or the other. And being
Mm-mm.
entrepreneurs, it's our life, you know.
Yeah,
Um, I'm all for balance, but not, for me, not always at the same time. I like to have balance, but right now I'm working on several big projects and there is no balance in my life right now. I'm working
mm-hmm.
on the big projects, and
Mm-hmm.
that my balance is which project am I going to work on today? And then I go into a slower mode. There's more balance, but it's also more family oriented. And so my balance is within my family, not between my family and my business. So I think balance is different for all people and what they're looking for in life. And that's a word that's thrown around a lot. But, we need balance in our life. And then we beat ourselves up because we're not balanced enough. We're not doing enough yoga, or we're not doing enough whatever it is that we think we're going to get from balance. But I think it got off on a tangent. But
That's okay.
the the piece about this is, as entrepreneurs, we can't be beating ourselves up all the time. We need to know that our business is just part of our life.
Right.
That we can keep it at work. We can section it off and not do it at home in our family stuff. But the truth is, we're always thinking about it. Most of us get up in the middle of the night and write down notes. We ask questions of our family if they like this or that, or we're thinking about it. And so when we're business owners, it does spill over. But the cool thing is, I can bring my daughter to work too. So it goes both
Absolutely.
ways.
Absolutely. Or bring your daughter to India. You travel a lot. I
Yeah.
think you do achieve balance in an amazing way.
Yeah, it's in a different kind of way. It's not day to day balance. I go for year to year balance.
Yeah. Well, that's flippin' genius.
Yeah. So.
So, what is the thing that keeps you out of marketing overwhelm, Michelle?
Well, I listen to my own advice. I stay within archetype.
Yeah.
I don't do things I'm not good at,
Yeah.
and I pay attention to where I get results, and stay where I actually get the results. I've written a couple books, but I'm not the biggest writer or the best writer in the world, and I used to think I had to blog.
Hmm.
And basically I just quit blogging. Now maybe I'll move into that archetype again at some point and decide I want to write another book and so forth. But for me, I don't put on tasks on myself that I'm not good at anymore, or
That's
that don't bring
brilliant.
results.
That's
Yeah.
brilliant. So let's talk about, because that sounds like, I'm sure everybody's like, oh my gosh, I want that for myself. But the genius of being an archetype is that when you do the things that you're good at, or that talk about that. So if a star gets on stage, how do they shout it from the rooftops? What's cooking?
Okay, so a couple things here. If a star gets on stage, what they need to learn to tweak is how to sell, how to be strategic, how to really not just, if they're extroverted stars, not go off script, right? Because they know how to talk to people, and so it may end up being babbling and not strategic. Okay, and but shouting from the rooftops is kind of part of something I'm going to teach in my class. So I want to grab that sentence, because that is how you are so excited about what you're doing. You can't help but shout it from the rooftop. So if you're a star and you're on stage, if you're introverted and have a small practitioner office, say you're a massage therapist or you're an acupuncturist or whatever, and you're just a one-room office, but you're so excited about what you're doing and you're so in alignment with knowing who it is that you are here to serve, by knowing what it is that you have to offer. You are right on with your packages and your services, and you know what you've got. You can't help but shout it from the rooftops. And whether you do it on stage or do it over the phone or do it in your writing copy, or for some people it is Twitter, for some people it's Facebook, right? And it's not all online. It can be walking down to the coffee shop. I still have a really good friend, but we used to have a couple of joint business projects together. And I tell you, she would just walk into a coffee shop, and within 10 minutes, she knew everybody in the coffee shop, and that's how she did her marketing. And she got clients that way. It was amazing, amazing. So it is really being so excited about what you do, you can't help but share it. And that's where I like to get people into that sweet spot. There, I used your word.
Woo! I know, which is somebody else's word, but it just seems like the thing that, it explains so well. It's like, so to be happy when you're in your business doing tasks that actually bring you clients, like that's amazing. And that's what the work is that you teach, that it's possible to actually enjoy the business functions of your business, right?
And isn't that why we all got into doing what we do? Because we love doing what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. So to have a clear path from where you are to where your clients are, and you end up, it's like Candyland. You end up in like candy nirvana. Like you're like, woo, this is so awesome because I'm happy collecting clients in the way I'm collecting them. It's so different than what most people think they're supposed to do or what most people learn. So here's an interesting thing to me.
Mm-hmm.
I find that people hear sometimes something that sounds like that, and then they say, nope, I can't give that to myself. I can't feel that good. I can't allow myself to stop the struggle. I can't allow myself to get unconfused. I can't allow for things to be streamlined. So what would you say to those people? Because I bet you get a lot of people who come to you who 5 minutes ago were at that place, and then they decide they've had it.
Here's what I think, Lindsay. I don't think we recognize always when we're in that spot. So I think we're like, yes, I want that, and I don't know why I'm not there. So yes, I know that I should really quit blogging because I'm not a good writer, but I've been blogging for 2 years, and I know I've got a following, so I'm going to continue to blog anyway. And they're not making the connection somehow that they're not willing to push through the block, or that they have to give this up to really break through at a bigger place. It's really hard to see our own stuff. And so there are all kinds of fears and struggles that we all deal with as entrepreneurs. And even the biggest, most successful entrepreneurs have them. People who are making tons of money. We're all people that we all have to work through our stuff, but it's hard to see it. So you may not recognize it as fear. You may think, well, nobody wants what I have. You may say, well, I know I'm supposed to stop blogging, but it's the only way I'm getting clients right now. The fact I'm only getting one client every 3 months, well, it's the only client I'm getting, so I know it's working. And they don't always make the connection, well, there could be a client a day if we broke through whatever obstacle or fear or inertia was in the way. So I like to help make those connections.
Yeah. I love too that you talk about, so 10 years ago, you were the people who you help now. So can we talk about something like your radio show and how that was out of archetype, and that, because I think it's, I think when we share that we are our target market very often, just a couple years ahead of them. So can you share that with people?
Yeah, I got some feedback there for a second, so
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's
So
okay.
can you hear me now?
I can hear you. So,
Yeah.
so 10 years ago, I was an adoptive mom, a midlife mommy. I had a radio show. I was helping authors. I had 3 or 4 websites. I had a couple of books. I produced a reality show online. I had a documentary about an artist. I mean, really, I was so all over the place. And none of it was really working. And you think you're in this space where it's like, but I have all these interests. And I had a lot of followers on my radio show. I was interviewing really interesting guests, talking about marketing and purpose and how to bring purpose into your work. And a big following. A lot of people were listening to it and downloading the radio show. And one day I just sort of decided to stop. And what's interesting is nobody really noticed. So we have this illusion that everything we're doing is really important. And sometimes it helps to have someone else kind of look at it in reality, or to see, okay, yes, lots of people are listening to the radio show, and yes, you're getting lots of comments and feedback. How is that benefiting you or your business? Was it bringing me revenue? No. Was it bringing me list building? No. Was it bringing me anything other than the opportunity to interview cool people? No. So I'm doing this web summit now, and I've been interviewing really cool people in a whole different way. So it comes back around in a different way. But I think it helps to have someone look at our stuff to see what's really working and what's not working. Because we have these veils up around ourselves that where we think we're doing the right thing.
Yeah. And your life is so dramatically different than it was then. You don't wake up in the morning and miss the radio show, right?
I don't. And I don't miss the 3 blogs that I used to keep, and all the marketing I used to do to market a 99-cent ebook. I mean,
Totally.
how can you make any money off a 99-cent ebook? Probably shouldn't
I
say
think
that.
I think everybody should go in the chat and should write all of the things that they are ready to offload. Like that's the first step. You just get sick of what you're doing. So you might not know the answer yet, but I double dog dare everyone to just go into the chat and be like, here are the 9 things that I can't stand doing in my business that aren't getting me any results. Because I think everybody, relates. They go, oh my goodness, I'm doing those same 9 things or my own version of it. So
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
And the cool thing about being an archetype and pinpointing where you are getting results is then you can do more of that. And that's the work you and I did together, and the work that I really like to work with, both in my class and with my VIP clients. What really is working, and let's figure out how to do more of that in a way
Perfect.
that's joyful and in ease.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So folks can go to bit.ly/simple, SIMPLE, right? Clarity,
Clarity, yep.
CLARITY, to see more about the class that you're offering. And can I ask you about Panama?
Yeah. I am taking a group of entrepreneurs and business owners down to Panama next year, and we're going to hang out for a week and swim and be creative and mastermind and talk about entrepreneurship and business and ways to really push each other to the next level. We're going to do art. We're going to do mask making. We're going to break every barrier there is to what you think a business retreat should look like. Because when you get in the creative zone, out of your comfort zone, out of your familiar surroundings, that's when big ideas and big breakthroughs come. So I'm looking forward to taking a small group down to Panama, where we're just going to have a rockin' time for a week and do outrageous business planning.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So, I mean, it's like the pull towards the groundedness of you is just like enveloping me. So for anyone who needs more grounding in their business, I think you should hang out with Michelle. Michelle, if they want to contact you, is there an email address, like if they have questions about the class or something like that?
Yeah, it's Michelle Vandepas at Gmail. You can Google Michelle Vandepas. There's no R in it, so
So it's VANDE.
Vandepas. Yeah, no R.
Awesome. Awesome.
Michelle Vandepas. I've got my website there, and it's Michelle at Michelle Vandepas or Michelle Vandepas at Gmail. It's basically my name. You'll find me everywhere.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I'm going to give you the last moments. Anything that it's got to be like to have brought together everyone that you brought. Let me just say from all of us who have watched and listened, thank you. Oh my gosh, like holy smokes, Michelle. Is there anything that you want to say in closing?
Well, it's been really fun, and when you watch all the videos, you'll notice some of the same threads coming through all the experts. Each expert has their own unique twist on it, but there are some threads, and the threads are that anybody can be an entrepreneur. You just have to be focused and strategic and not all over the place. And we all need help doing that. So each one of the experts is an expert in their own right. They have great interviews. I think there's still two more coming up after this one. So please listen to the two more coming up. And then if you're in a place where you feel you need some help, choose one of us and get some help, because that's what we're here for.
Yeah, I love it, Michelle. What a generous spirit you have. I could talk to you forever and people would be probably bored by the end. So
I hope not.
because what I would do is I'd say, okay, so Michelle, can we please talk more about, I need to schedule time with you to talk more about my archetype because it's game changing. So thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you tonight. I so appreciate you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Bye.